Well, hello, everybody, and good evening, and welcome to the All Portable Discussion Zone. It's a bi-weekly live stream all about amateur radio portable ops, and my name is Charlie. Call sign is November Juliet 7 Victor, and with me this evening are the show's two co-hosts, Dan, KC7MSU, and Brian, W7JET. We want to welcome those who are in the chat as well, and hope that you pop your questions in and interact with us a little bit. And don't forget that this show does convert to a podcast within 24 hours after the show ends. So this is one of these new formats that we're going to try out. Brian, Dan, and I are here, and we'll be talking to you this evening. And we all picked a topic to talk about, and something that we've had interest in, or been involved in, or been working on lately. And so we will each take our turn doing that. I think that I have listed in the comments of the or the description of the video what our topics are, and also on the maybe on the thumbnail as well. But at any rate, glad to be here with you, everybody, and I hope that everything goes well. I had some internet connectivity problems just a minute ago. That's why I was a minute or two late. Brian had a Windows update that took over 20 minutes, and they're still working on some stuff. So, but we'll make it happen. This is how it goes. So let me go ahead and just real quick pop over into the chat and see who's there, and see if we can make sure we welcome everybody there. We have Sue, who is a good friend. Thank you for being here. Digital Rancher's here. Has a great YouTube channel. Andy, the regulars here. We got Shane. He's welcome to you as well. Kyle, he always is in there hiding around, and then we have Richie's Radio Room. Thank you for being here. And I think that kind of rounds it out. Oh, we got Patrick here too. Swamp Fox, he's in here. So welcome everybody. Again, hopefully you go ahead and put your comments in as we progress in tonight. Richie's Radio Room, you are so awesome. Thank you so much for that super chat right up front. We appreciate it. It goes towards the bills for sure, because like StreamYard here, this app we use, it's about $200 a month, and then there's some other things, so it pays the bills. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, guys, let's go ahead and go around the room and see what we can accomplish here. Let's see, Mike is here as well for G0RFD from UK. Thank you for being here. We're going to go ahead and just kind of get updated on everything. So I will start off, guys. Let's see, I what I've been doing over the last week or two, let's see, going back to, I guess, Wednesday, I participated in the CW Ops CWT. It's a test. It's a 1 hour block of time where you send CW with other and kind of do a little mini contest, so to speak. It's great to practice your CW skills. And I've been running the last two times I was running about 30 words a minute. I actually made a video of one 2 weeks ago. So if you want to see what a CWT looks like for somebody who's calling CQ, go ahead and check that out. It's right on my page. And I'm not great at the CWT. I'm just starting out, and I have some assistance with the computers. And a lot of people do that, though, and Brian will tell you that as well. Most people who participate in the CWT will use a computer to assist with the QSOs and stuff. But so that's kind of one thing I've been doing. Also, I participated in the CWO. It's the CW Open. I didn't do a whole lot. I think a total of 3 or 4 hours on 2 of the 3 sessions, and submitted my logs. I was part of a CW Ops team. And if you don't know what the CW Ops is, they're a group of it's just a club, really, a group of people who, encourage people to get their Morse code skills up and to learn Morse code. And you become a member of their club by being nominated and being able to reach a certain speed on your Morse code. So great organization to be a part of. Let's see. Also in there, in between the two, I did my last summer bonus activation on Shaw Butte, and I used my little filter on that again because of the front end overload and just all the interference with all the antennas. But had a good time. It was a really early activation. And I did that live, actually. So if that's also in the YouTube there in my videos a live shot of me doing. It was just VHF summits on the air activation using the soda beams filter to activate that summit. So that's what I've been up to. Let me cough real quick. So the last thing I want to mention that haven't been up to but will be up to is I have a trip coming up this weekend in Navajo country. So for Summits on the Air in Arizona, we have a lot of tribal land, a lot of Native Americans Native American land, and so that is they're considered their own nation, and so you really aren't supposed to go on tribal land and participate in Summits on the Air without permission. And usually, what that looks like, if you don't have a permit from that's issued somewhere, then it's you have to have some sort of a guide. And as it turns out, I have a guide, a guy by the name of Herb Goodluck. He is the son of one of the Navajo code talkers. And so I will be going up to Navajo country this Thursday, and I'll be spending 2 or 3 days up there, and we'll be hitting some of the summits up in the Chinle, Lukakuchai area. And most of the summits will have not been activated before. So we'll get Herb on there first because he's the guide, and have him activate these peaks for the first time. And then I'll hop on after him, and we'll activate some Navajo peaks that haven't been done yet. So that'll be pretty cool. And so I think that's about it for me. Let's go ahead and roll over to Dan and see what he's been up to.
Well, great, Charlie. I'm looking forward to those episodes. So hopefully you'll be able to get some history from stories that his father told too. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, actually, let me interject real quick. Yes, I have also scheduled an interview with him that I'll record. It won't be live, but it'll be in the All Portable Discussion Zone volume of episodes. But when I go up there, I'll be recording a 1-hour session interview with him to talk a little bit about the code talkers and his dad and all that. So yeah, cool. Sorry, Dan, back to you.
Oh, no problem. It'd be great to hear that those discussions. So things have been kind of busy here for me. So I wanted to do a new mobile radio install, so I couldn't do that without going to buy a truck. So I kind of retired Big Red, and
you got that
now we've got a taco. So we'll talk about that today. Also, finally got back out onto a summit, so got to get the taco truck dirty, and so that was a lot of fun yesterday. We're up on Saddle Mountain. It was pretty very, very cloudy, and we finally got rained on. And but it was a great activation. I got a whole bunch of wonderful pictures, some video, and saw a bunch of elk. So they were quite a ways off the road, and I just luckily spotted them. So we did a quick 360 and went back to film some of those. So all in all, it was a wonderful day. It was a long day, but fantastic. Really enjoyed it.
Cool. All right. I look forward to that. All right. You're up, Brian.
All right. So let's see what I have going on. CWTs this week. I actually did all the CWTs earlier this week as W1AW Portable 7, as Arizona has W1AW Portable 7 this week, and I happen to be the state coordinator. So if you happen to work W1AW 7 this week on CW, you worked me, because I think I'm the only person operating CW from the state right now. At least it's W1AW 7. And it's been a good time. I've had a lot of fun doing it. I did a bunch of soda activations as well. I went out with Brad, and we went out on Thursday in up in Prescott and did, what did we do? Hickey Mountain. And it was a very short activation because we had a very large thunderstorm bearing down on us by the time we got up on top of the mountain. It was supposed to be an earlier start to the day for me, but one of our other airplanes broke. And the previous day, and me, for those that don't know, I'm also an aircraft mechanic, I got to go run over to another airport, pick up a part, fly over to that airplane, fix that airplane, and then fly back to Prescott. And Brad, K9JDE, met me there, and then we went up and did the nice off-trail hike up to the top of Hickey Mountain, which is over by Mingus Mountain. Great hike. Had some good food. Then the next day, Brad decided that we should also do another hike. So we did Apache Gap, which for me, that's the second time I've activated. I was the first time activator on it. And this is the last time I was on that mountain. Was hard to say this. 10 years ago. That's how long it was
Wow.
since,
Man,
since
that's
I
a long
activated
time.
that mountain. Almost 10 years ago. That was buddy pull Brian with a 40-pound pack
Oh my
activation.
gosh.
That's
Now
how
wait,
long ago that was.
Apache Gap, isn't that the one over there by Canyon Lake? Kind of. You can see
Yes.
Canyon Lake. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can see Canyon. You can also see Saguaro Lake from there. So
I just did that this year.
we did it, and again, another mountain where we were up on top, and we did the quick 4 VHF and bailed out because yet again another thunderstorm was bearing down on us. So yeah, that did both of those, and I've just been keeping busy otherwise. I'll be running. I also ran the CWOs. I was with a part of the Arizona Outlaws contest club team running the CWO this year, and that was a good time. I ran all three periods. I think only an hour on the first period, and then about 3 on each one. Total of around 500-ish contacts. So it was a good time. And I'll probably be, for anybody that hangs around afterward, I'll probably run W1AW7 during the SST, which is run by the K1 USN club at Quad Zulu. So if you hear W1AW7 running at 14 words a minute, that'll be me. Back to you, Charlie.
Cool. All right. Well, Patrick says he can't wait to hear the Navajo Code Talker interview. Well, yeah, I hope it turns out. We'll see. You know, there's a lot of moving parts, and if all goes well, I'll have that, and it'll be fun to hear what he has to say. But at any rate, let's go ahead and get started then, guys. Again, if you are in the chat, go ahead and interact with us if you want, and ask questions, make comments on our 3 topics that we're going to discuss today. I suppose, unless you want to go first, I'll go first, and we'll let Brian go last regardless. You want to go first, or you want to go second?
I'll go second. That's fine.
All right, cool. All right, well, let me just talk a little bit about what I have then. So let's see here. Coming up, let me get a calendar up here. It's just I'm just going to get a random calendar, like one here, and display it here just to kind of show people what event I'm going to be talking about a little bit. So that'll be right here. Share that and pop it up. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we're in April here on this calendar, but I'm going to move it forward to, let's see if I can do 2024. It may not even go that far out. It looks like it doesn't. February. Yeah, this calendar doesn't. I might have to go do a different calendar. August, September. There it is, 2024, January, February, March, April, May, June. All right, let me see if I can zoom in on this. All right, June of 2024, on a Saturday, June 15th, we have Arizona has an event that we are going to be hosting. It's similar to the event that y'all might be familiar with that we've done in the past, called the 10-Point Madness event. And so June 15th, mark your calendar. What this event is going to be is a 6-meter summit-to-summit event. And so the idea here, we chose June 15th because June 15th is probably your best window as far as, 6 meters is really unpredictable. But just kind of averages and odds, June 15th is probably going to be your best. It's right in the middle of June. It's going to be your best opportunity to make 6 meters contacts if we get some propagation gods working in our favor. So what we'll do is we'll all get on a summit, and it doesn't matter what summit you want to get on as far as the point value, but we will get on, and starting at around 9 o'clock, 8 or 9 o'clock, I think our start time is going to be 8, if I believe, and then it's going to go to 11. That's kind of the window in the morning when most 6-meter e-skip is available to you, and it opens up again, understanding that it's really unpredictable, and it could be night, day, any time really, but your odds of getting a opening for 6 meters are the best between 9 and 11 on June 15th, I would say, if you just kind of rolled the dice. So that's the day we chose. So yes, June 15th, it's going to be the 6-meter summit-to-summit event. Of course, you'll use other bands as well. You'll use 2 meters if you want to. You'll use the HF bands, but but it's going to be primarily focused on trying to get those 6-meter DX contacts. Of course, if 6 meters isn't open, then we'll still have ground wave amongst our people here in Arizona. So yeah, and I was looking here at Richie. Yeah, Richie's radio room says 6 meters is totally predictable. No, it's not. That's funny. Yeah. So anyway, the idea is everybody's on a summit at the same time simultaneously, just like on Mini Morning Madness and like on the 10-point Madness, but no opening in 6 meters. Then at least those people within a close proximity to you, you'll be able to do ground wave. If there's an opening, then of course it's going to be amazing. And so we want everybody to participate across the United States, and hopefully the 6-meter opening will be there. So I tell you all this now so that because I don't really have a good 6-meter setup, and so I am going to try and find a good project, a 6-meter antenna project. And let me just see what Kyle says here. Is not limited to S to S, right? Yeah, it's not limited to S to S. We'll work all the bands. We'll work anything you want to, but we really want to focus on 6-meter S to S first, and then of course whatever else. And we welcome people who, like Kyle, has a great station, and we'll want to hear from him on 6 meters, even if he's not on a summit. So, yeah. All right. So let's see. So let me show you a couple of the antennas that I have right now that I don't believe I want to use. And I do need to talk to Chuck, KK6USY, for the 6-meter Moxon, because that is one of the ones that I am interested in possibly building. Let me show you what I have right now. The least favorite of all is this one right here. It's just a wire. Believe it or not, this is a J pole, and if I just spread this out here a little bit, you can see that there's actually 2 wires there. It's thin ladder line. It's not even ladder line, but it's two wires there. I've had this up on a summit several times, and I've made contacts with it. There's been an opening or two where I've had this up on a summit. Problem is the SWR, when I set it up and run with it, is pretty poor, and it's not a very efficient antenna. So I asked Pete, my good friend, who's a very knowledgeable 6-meter guy here in the Valley, about whether the orientation matters, whether vertical or horizontal matters. He says it does for ground wave, but if you're doing, 300 ohm twin lead, that's what it is right there from Paul. So if you're doing DX and trying to make DX contacts, then it doesn't matter whether you're vertical or horizontal, because the radio waves kind of tumble and it doesn't matter. But if you are doing ground wave, then it does matter. You got to have the same polarization as the person you're communicating with. So I think that one's out. Another one that I have had in the field and used is this one here. It's the Pactena. This is actually it's a Pactena Trek mount. It's actually made for 2 meters, but I've actually there's these 2 telescoping 6-meter whips. And so if you extend each of them out, then you have like a dipole, and it's pretty effective. But again, you don't have any, the gain isn't that great, but it's fairly effective. So also I have here this ginormous monster here. This has these, are they signal sticks? No, they're not signal sticks. What do they call these? Ham sticks, I think.
Ham sticks.
Yeah. Ham sticks, and this is kind of a homebrew little middle part here. This is more like something you'd mount outside in permanent structure. So I'm looking for something portable, and so I've kind of been looking around, and I welcome your guys' input in the chat, as well as you and Brian and Dan, as far as what maybe we should go with. And so let me just show you. I'm just going to share my screen again and share a couple of the things that I've been looking at, and then from there we can just turn the time over to one of you guys to do your thing. But let me bring up my shared screen here, and that's going to take just a second. Sorry for the delay, guys. Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking for portable. One option I have is to just buy a 6-meter dipole, a handheld one, like this one the Arrow makes, and you can see it's just a boom with a single dipole there. Not thrilled about that. I already have a couple of options that I've already showed you about, so I'm not sure that's the route I want to go. Also, they have a ground plane 6-meter, And I'm kind of considering possibly doing that. I think for about $75, I could do. Let me bring my screen off here just a minute and show you. I made a ground plane like this one here, and this was a two meter one. But really, it's 5 telescoping whips on a BNC connect on a SO239 connector, and so you just extend them all, and instead of just building a permanent structure, you can. This is one way to do it, and I think I could make one just like this for 6 meters for right around $75. I think if I ordered the 5 telescoping whips for 6 meters. So that's an option. Then I think I showed you there's a roll-up J-pole, which I just showed you. This one's the radio waves one. The one I had is something different, but not thrilled about that. Lastly, I think as far as ideas go, if I can bring this up, we've got a few others here. K5ND Radio has some really good ones. He's showed here. So we've got the dipole. We've talked about the dipole. There's the Moxon here. Let's see, that looks interesting. But again, for portable use, it might be all right as long as we get some light material. And then we have this one here, of course, is a 3-element Yagi, but it also has maybe a Moxon. I don't know what that is. Is that a Moxon inside of it?
It looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then just a straight up.
It's referred to as an LFA antenna. So
Okay.
it's basically got a loop in there, and it's designed to be really quiet for receiving. Make it so you can pull the weaker signal stuff out. They do. I think it's Cushcraft actually makes like a 5-element version of that.
Okay.
And that loop is actually the active element, I guess would be the best way to describe it.
Cool. All right. And so then, I said that just a regular 3-element Yagi. Honestly, I feel like this is what I want to focus on, is just a simple 3-element Yagi, but I'm still kind of exploring. And then they have, this is a 6 meter, what is it called again?
Egg beater or something?
An omna angle. That looks too complicated for me. I think so. Anyway, these are the things that I have. So let me go ahead and share this here. We've got plans here for a 6. This is a 4-element Yagi, and it has all these plans here and talks about the materials. If you look here, there's it talks about the things that you can get from just like a store already made, and it goes through the instructions on building it. And it doesn't look like it's going to be all that difficult to just grab a few bolts and a few spacers and whatnot, and then make sure that all the radials and everything are spaced and cut to right length, and we're good to go. So this is maybe what I'm going to be following, is this one here. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out and let you guys know I'm looking. And what do you guys think is a good option? What would you do if you're going to be participating? Both Dan and Brian, and then you guys in the chat.
I like the Moxon idea personally. So I too do not have anything for 6 meters. So I'm going to be kind of scraping along as well. But I've always liked the Moxon styles of antennas, so that may be something fun to actually play with. It seems like you can make it pretty portable, and it would be easy to disassemble and reassemble on a summit. So that's that definitely has some interest for me.
Okay, what do you think?
And you could, horizontal or vertical, so you could have the best of both worlds there too.
For me, I've consistently been using just a regular inverted V dipole on 6 meters for numerous VHF contests throughout the years, and I've at least for June and September when I participated. And I didn't last year because of work reasons, but when I participate in the June and September VHF contest, I usually for the portable category, I usually win North America.
So, and you're talking of a dipole that's just a wire, right? Not the
just a regular wire inverted V dipole, and it's usually, at least for around here, it's been plenty. And now there hasn't been band openings when I've been doing it, so it's been it's all been within the state of Arizona stuff. But I mean, the farthest contact I've had on that thing on 6 meter sideband is over 150 miles.
Yeah.
Out to Yuma and up into the Lake Havasu area, and I mean, I worked W7 USA Ray, and he was I think he was using a dipole up on Williams, and then we also worked each other on 2 meters and 440 on sideband, and that was from Mount Ord. So I've done very well with it. I'm actually this this coming weekend is the September VHF contest, and I'm going to be up on Mount Ord. And since my 6-meter beam is actually down on the ground right now, it's a 3-element Cushcraft, one of the classic ones. So it's got the solid elements and everything on it. It's a really robust antenna. I'm going to throw that up on the roof of the FJ and take it with me up on top of Mount Ord, and I'll be operating. This will be my first contest actually using a beam on 6 meters. So I will probably have a different opinion about the performance after that. But I figured, why not? I got it. I might as well take it up there. So I'm barring any changes to my work schedule, I'll be on Saturday. I'll be running the VHF contest on Mount Ord.
Yeah.
Cool.
And when it comes to this event on June 15th, 2024, Pete I was talking to Pete, and he says, well, the things you want to try to make sure you have is first of all, most importantly, is power. So I'm going to do a drive up. I think I have down Mount Ord actually on mine because I want to take a 100-watt radio. Then he says the next thing is a gain antenna and then height. He says those are the main things that you need to, of course, and then the 6-meter gods to help you out. But that's my plan. Then I think maybe I'm looking either at the Moxon or the 3-element Yagi. But I do have these here just in case between now and then nothing works out. But let me go ahead and get some comments here. Go ahead, Brian. Did you have something else?
Oh no, I was just thinking to myself that as far as the antennas go, I've not messed with much of anything else, but I've thought about doing a wire beam like a Moxon or something along those lines for the January con, because I usually do a hike up for the January contest, and I'm not hauling a 3-element beam up to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, well, I mean, portability is huge, isn't it? That's one consideration. It's like there's all these trade-offs, right? There's power, there's gain and portability, and yeah.
Well, between my antennas and the transverters, my pack for the January contest is just shy of 50 pounds.
Jeez.
And I also bring a laptop with me because trying to contest log on paper is not effective. So I usually bring a laptop with N1MM, and I actually log with contest logging software.
Yeah. All right. Shane says N9AB offers a wire portable dipole in 6 meters. He says he has the 20 and 40 link dipole, and it's very impressive build. So N9SAB on eBay. Okay, thank you, Shane. I'll look that up. And then we have Zippy says you should get a 5 dB gain with a 6-meter Moxon. Ooh, that sounds great. Hopefully so. Paul Griffith, how about adjusting or using a fiberglass temp poles to make a dipole? Fasten wire to the poles with Velcro loops. Paul, this is a great idea. And in fact, a friend of ours, W7 USA, Ray, he built one of these, actually not with fiberglass temp poles, but he built it with the fishing poles, like fiberglass fishing poles, which are even lighter than the temp poles. And he ran a wire along the radials, and I think he actually just used thread and fingernail polish and kind of just made it kind of stick there. But I actually used that antenna, and it's a great antenna. So yeah, good idea there. Let's see. Then we have or contact. Okay, yeah. Sounds like we got all the comments in the chat. Okay, so I guess look forward to talking to y'all guys on 2 meters, or I mean on 6 meters, June 15th. Hope we have a good time, and you'll hear more about it as the date approaches. So thank you for your input, and if you have any other comments about ideas for the 6-meter antenna that might work good for portable use and give me some gain, I could use it for 100 watts. Go ahead and leave it in the chat or later on in the comments. So Dan, why don't you go ahead and take it over from here?
All right, I'll do that. Let me see if I can't share a screen.
Sharing the screen. There it is.
There we go. So that's the, like I said, Big Red got retired.
You're not happy with that at all, are you?
No, I'm not happy with that truck at all. It was actually, this is from this weekend. It was actually dirtier. It had mud on it, but I got rained on. So this was the best I can do for breaking it in.
Okay.
So this was up towards Saddle Mountain yesterday. So we had a great time. So this is kind of what I got underneath the hood. So this is where I get to start out with everything. Um, so I'm going to be taking, it looks like I'm going to take my positive side, and over in this section right here, I'm going to be mounting an aluminum plate, and I'm going to attach a fuse block on there. And I'll show you what I'm going to, well, actually I got this fuse block right here. So this is the fuse block that I'm going to use. Um, got it off from DigiKey. So that it's nice and stout, and it's got all the returns on there. So as I add things under the hood, then I've got pretty
Let's see it
easy
again.
access.
There we go. Better view.
Yeah, yeah. So that's it. So like I said, I'm going to mount an aluminum plate over here. So I'm working on getting that plate and getting some holes machined into it and stuff. And the funny thing is these mounting holes are also on an angle. So I have to get some angled washers, which surprisingly was not that difficult to find. Well, go figure. But in this particular truck, there's a couple different spots where I could run wire through the firewall. So there's a actual single spot behind the brake over here. You can also go through the what's existing and being used here. There's one nipple over here that you can knock off. But my route, I'm going to be going. Oh, and also there's also the ground is over here on the side of the truck, so that'll be very easy to get at. So I'm basically going to come around the back firewall, and there is a spot here I can go through, or I can go through right here with the remaining wires. So that's the route I'm going to take, so that I come out on the passenger side, just because, hey, I don't want anything dangling around my feet. So I figured
Right.
whoever's riding with me will get the luxury of the wire. That's a shot of where that panel will actually get mounted to right there. Duplicate there. And this is where more than likely I'll go in. So you just need to trim that off, and I can run my wire in there. So I bought some, I've got some wiring loom that I'm going to be using. And I bought some new wire to use. So this is 10 gauge. So won't have any problem with amperage there. And let's see, next photo. So this is the front passenger side. So these actually are pretty roomy as far as how much space I have left underneath there. I also I'm going to stick with a Lido mount, the gooseneck type. I kind of like it. It works well for me. But I'll be able to take and cut across underneath the seat to where that will be mounted, and be able to go right up the gooseneck. This is the back. I was really happy with the space that is in these trucks. Instead of having to mount stuff underneath, I can mount it behind the seat, which is really nice. So there's plenty of space in the wiring channel. So I'm really happy there. There's even space under this tool rack where the jack and things are under, but I'm going to actually go behind the seat, because there is just all kinds of space back there. I'm going to eventually end up with 2 radios. I've got my Yaesu 400 that I like, so I'm going to keep that. And then eventually I'm going to get an 891 as well. And back here, I'm going to be buying a block of high density polyethylene, and laying out my radios and power distribution and coax and all that on that. and that would just, there's some handy dandy bolts back there that I'm going to mount that on.
So, question here, real quick, for me. By the way, for those of you who are listening later or using the podcast, since no visual, what we're looking at is the back, just before you get to the bed of the truck. In the back seat, there's a space there where he's going to be mounting stuff. So what's going in this area? You say your radios are going there?
Yeah, both the radios will be going in there, along with the power distribution and all the wiring and stuff. It's directly behind the seat. It's a nice large area. So should
then the
have no
radios,
problems.
so the radios you'll have then will have like some sort of a faceplate that you'll run up to the dash, and you'll be talking about that in a minute, maybe.
Yeah.
And you got enough airflow back there, Dan?
Well, I'm planning on also putting in a fan as well back here, so just in case. But I've seen someone else run back here and not have problems, but I am planning on installing a fan as well.
Kyle, Alpha Alpha Zero Z, who is in the chat, he has a taco also, right? Yeah, he does.
Yep.
And so he runs his right there. He says right here, that's where I have all my radios in my truck. So.
Yep. And I talked to Kyle a little bit back and forth in one of the devices. I didn't even think about this device. I saw it on Kyle's video. So thank you, Kyle. So one of the items that I'm going to be purchasing, let me make sure, see if I can pull this up, is this little handy dandy device. It's a disconnect so that, when there's no current flowing, basically after a set amount of time, then it will take in, just shut down the radio. So I kind of like having that, just because I'm notorious for leaving my radios on.
Yes.
So this will be a good addition to what I have. In addition, for power distribution, I'm planning on using a rig runner in the back. And I'm planning on using one with the USBs because I'm planning on having having a Raspberry Pi or two back there as well for some other projects. And what else do I have in here? I think I've got, this is the actual fuse block. It's made by OptiFuse. They're pretty stout, so I really like that. And I've got, what else did I have here? So of course my cables aren't long enough. So some of the separation cables, especially the one used for the mic. So I went ahead and I purchased some additional cable. It's amazing how expensive cable has gotten over the years, but I only get to run this one time, so I wanted to do a good job on it. So I spent the cash to take and do that. And then fortunately for mounting antennas, there's a nice spot on the back of the cab that I can go out and be able to run coax out through there. So the Tacoma seems to be really friendly as far as being able to do all that stuff. So that's, and I'll be making a videotape of that as well as I go along.
Okay. So does this make sense? Kyle says, just be aware of the SD corruption on the Pi when power is cut. Might want to see if you can make the SD card read-only.
Yeah, I've experienced that in the past, so that shouldn't be too big of a problem. I've had to deal with it before, and eventually I'm using the Pi kind of as a short term, so eventually it'll be on a custom built ARM platform for some of the stuff that I want to do. So it'll be just straight microcontroller eventually. So.
And then WV8T says, don't plan on using the 891 while the Tacoma is running. On the newer tacos, the fuel pump noise is S8. Can't believe it. I tried it everything on my 2021. Is that interesting?
Really? I am surprised.
And then also Kyle says, also the 891 use the Yaesu front faceplate extender cables. I didn't, and my 891 gives me fits.
Yes. Yep.
And then he says Kyle confirms that that's true. The fuel pump is an RF nightmare.
Oh,
great.
Okay. Well, That's good to know. So I guess I'll be having some fun fighting that. But I was hoping to use it mobile, so we'll see if we can't come up with some extra filtering and maybe get lucky.
Okay, cool. All right, Dan. Thanks. That's interesting. I don't go to those links for my vehicle radio, but of course I don't use mine that much either. Just enough to get me in trouble, I think. So, but anyway,
Well, mine currently doesn't look anything like what it's going to end up because I just got the truck last week, so the radio is just kind of thrown in there for the adventures this past weekend. So it
okay.
it's like a typical install.
Yeah, yeah, cool. All right, moving on then. If there's nothing else in the chat, I don't have any other questions on the install. So we'll move on to the third topic of the day, which Brian has. Take it away, Brian.
All right, let me start sharing some screen here. Share screen. Let's see which screen we want to see. There we go.
While he's doing that, guys who are listening via podcast, audio only. Sorry, we'll do the best we can to describe everything, but I do have the podcast out in video form if your player accepts that. So, all right, go ahead, Brian.
All right. So what we're looking at here is a very vintage photo of some guys doing the USGS survey, and in the late 1800s and through the 1900s up to 1960, the USGS surveyed all this new land out west when we acquired it, and had to create accurate maps. And if you've done any hiking out west, and even in other parts of the country, you'll see these little discs at the top of the mountain. Everybody's called them benchmarks, which is what they're called. And what are they? What are some of the things you might notice? One of the things you might notice, and you see this a lot out here in Arizona, is you'll see these braids of wire with loops in the ends around the benchmark on the summit, but there's nothing in them. They just sort of sit there. Well, those used to be connected to a structure of some kind. Usually it was a tripod with a big staff coming out of the top of it, and they may have had a flag on it, and that's so they knew that they had surveyed that mountain and to move on to the next one, or to triangulate off of it from another mountain using the survey sextant here, the scope that they have here from the other hill, so they can triangulate their position. And this is for those that don't know what a benchmark is, let me move over to the benchmark here, clicking the screen I'm looking at. So this is a triangulation benchmarker. What that means is there's usually 2 to 3 of them on top of the hill that point to where the actual high point is on the summit. You can see the date is flagged on this one, 1946. So that's when that one was set. This particular one is on a mountain called Bald Hill out by Prescott, Arizona. And I picked these photos because this has a very rare item on the top of the hill, which is a instrument structure. And I'll get over to that photo in a second. So that's not a great photo of the benchmark. That's probably a little better. Do I have a better one on here? That's not it. That's not it. Let's go one more over. So yeah, so the actual benchmark, as you can see on here, it's got a triangle in it with a dot, and it'll tell you the feet elevation, usually the summit name, and that's the actual high point or the point that they were surveying off of, right on the top of the mountain. These are, you're not supposed to remove them. A lot of times when you go up on top of the hill, you'll find a hole where it used to be because somebody pried it out and decided it was more important for them to take it home than for everybody else to be able to enjoy it. If you were to take this thing out, it's about 8 to 10 inches long, and it's kind of got a spike on it. So they drive a hole in the ground and then set it in with concrete, and hopefully it lasts forever. So this is my activation of Bald Hill, which that's a Squaw Mountain for those who know, but I'm looking for the photo of the equipment stand. There we go. All right. So this here has been there since 1946 when they did the original survey of the mountain. And I thought it was pretty interesting because I've never seen one like this before of this size. So I did some research on it, and I don't have a great picture of the base of it, but this used to be about 4 feet higher. But over the years from the snow and the rain, the bottom portion of the legs rotted out and it collapsed down on itself. So it's not as high as it was. But at the time, what they would have done was left this up here and placed different instruments, reflectors, and other devices up there so that they could triangulate off of this hill, the other hills around it that they were surveying. I think I got a few more pictures of it. So that's a little more close up of it, and there's the benchmark that you saw in the photo. The triangle is actually directly below this structure, and this rock pile. This was probably put there by the original survey crew when they did this in 1946. And these are all over the place. So some hills you'll just see the benchmark and that's it. Some hills, if they were important, and I was not able to find out information as to why some hills had the triangulation markers on them. I'm assuming that that's because they were the primary, going to be the primary reference for that area. So there was a lot more detail and important accuracy in the way they position the summit. So there's usually 3 of these positioned around the summit, and then sometimes there's also down on the ground in an area away from that mountain. There is an actual reference marker that they can calibrate off of before they go to the other. And for Charlie and Dan, Dromedary Peak is another great summit by us that has a complete set of benchmarks on it. And down on the other side of US 60, on the north side of the road, there's actually a marker over there that is a reference mark that points to that summit, and that's part of that whole system. I've never actually seen the one over there, but there's a guy I know from the Hike Arizona group who is really into hunting benchmarks, and that's if you go onto the page for Dromedary Peak, there's a really good explanation of all that stuff on there. So that's where a lot of my data has come from.
Yeah, question real quick.
Sure.
Because you mentioned, I was going to ask this question, but then you kind of brought it up, so I'll ask it now. And that is there a community of people that I guess chase or collect or whatever these benchmarks? And you said there is. Can you talk more about what that looks like? I mean,
so there's actually a website you can go to, and forgive me, I don't have the name right now, but it's a group of people, and it's they're like, you got the peak bagger community, you've got our community, the soda guys, you've got the radio collectors. Well, there's a community of people that go out and they hunt benchmarks, and they use historical data from the USGS from the original surveys, and they go out and they look for them, and they're all over the place. If you actually, in some cases, if you drive down streets, or if there's something significant going on, you can actually find these in the middle of streets. You'll find them along dam sites. You'll find them on street corners. You'll look at, why is this little block of concrete there? And you look down on the block of the concrete, and this is in there, and it's all part of that original survey from when cities were laid out, or county lines or state lines, and various things that were of geographic importance that the U.S. Geological Survey was tasked with doing when this originally started. I believe in the late 1800s was when it laid out, and it finished up. The primary mission finished up sometime in the 50s.
So when I was up on Saddle, I found what I thought up by the amateur radio shack up there is the benchmark, and it's got actually the triangle in it and the plus sign, but it doesn't list the feet, the elevation.
Some of them, from what I understand, if it's missing the original data, it might actually be a replacement. So it might not be the original one. And it got placed there after the fact when they were doing something up on top of the hill. But if, like you can see on this one, it's stamped, it says Bald Mountain on it with the year. And then the other one doesn't have that information on it. So what I gather, the other one might have actually been a replacement, or they just didn't stamp it at the time. They didn't have the equipment up there when they stamped it out, or who knows what. I got to remember back then they were doing this with pack mules, and they were going up on top of the hill, and their base camp might have been a couple miles away, and it was I forgot the punches. All right, whatever, we'll just stick it on the ground. I'm not going to worry about it. But these other ones were already set. And this wasn't a 1 minute job. They might have spent a good day or two up there going through the process, because they didn't have the tools that we have today for accuracy. So it might take them it took them quite a while sometimes to actually get all this information laid out, and accuracy was important. These were part of the Army Corps of Engineers. They were tasked with a very specific mission.
Yeah, I was surprised that this one was it's got the date on there of 1965. So I was surprised it was that not that long ago.
Yeah, this one's 46. I was the first person to activate this hill, and I was pleasantly surprised when I got up there and found that structure, because I didn't know what it was. And I did a little more research on it. I posted the picture on the and this is a couple of years ago, but I posted the picture on the benchmark group and asked what it was, and like a bunch of people got excited that it was up there. There were a few that knew about it, but a lot of them didn't. And immediately I got all the whole download on what it was and what its significance was, and it's been up there since 1946. So that's it's coming up on 80 years now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So when the two of you do summits on the air, do you always, at least the first time you do an activation, a hill, look for the benchmark? And what I mean by that is oftentimes we'll go and do an activation, but there's a first time that you do the hill, then you come back multiple times later. But at least that first time, do you go to the top and look for the benchmark?
I usually do.
I personally, yeah, I like looking for that. It's a kind of I was there kind of symbol. So it's a lot of fun to see if you can figure out where it actually is and take a picture of it. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to go through all the photos to find them because they're all over. I have them all over the place. But the earliest one I found is Dromedary Peak, and that was 1938 when it was set. And I'll share the screen again so you guys can see the photo of it.
Yeah, it's cool. While you're getting that, I usually do too. I usually try to go to the top and look for the one of the two or three for the first time I've activated a summit. But when I do a return trip, then of course sometimes I'll just make sure I'm in the activation zone and call it good. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's the Dromedary Peak, and that's the actual summit one. You can see it says Dromedary on the top and 1938 across the bottom, and it's the original one. It's not been tampered with. So all this old concrete up around it. It's kind of cool. I always get a kick out of them. I really like looking at the dates because you think about it. That was the first time that hill was recorded by somebody, other than who was, probably indigenous to the area that went up there with a purpose of recording the summit. And now we're going up there. And, 100 years ago, if you would have told them, hey, some guys are going to be up there setting up radio gear and talking to people all over the world using this thing called Morse code, they would have you're an alien from another planet. So it's kind of cool when you think about the hands that touched that had no idea what was going to be going on top of that hill now.
Yeah, and I imagine actually, if you think about it, I mean, the West was kind of late in the game. I imagine there's probably these peak registries or these benchmarks that are much older as you head east. Because, like Maryland, you probably have something back in the 1800s, right?
Yeah, well, who knows when they actually surveyed them, too, because I think this was more specific to out here. I've heard the earliest ones people have found are the 30s.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah. But that's, I did a quick Google search to see what I could find, and there's a lot of them out there. And that staff that I was talking about, there's actually one that's still standing in Wyoming on top of a mountain there. I couldn't find the photo of it, but it's the way it would have been put up in the 1930s. It hasn't deteriorated one bit. No one stole it. It hasn't been burned in a fire. It's a fairly high mountain that's apparently alpine, so the only thing it gets is snow. There's no way it's going to burn. And I think the majority of the reason why most of ours are gone are the snow, termites, and fires.
Yeah, they don't have termites up there either.
So those would be the three reasons why they're gone, because they were just simple staffs of wood, and they were held down with galvanized wire. So you say if you look around where the benchmark is on the summit, a lot of times you'll just see this twisted galvanized wire with loops in the end, and that was actually supporting the structure, holding the structure in place to mark the hill that they had already been on top of it. And from what I gather, it had like a flag or something on it, so it was obvious that they could find it from the ground with a set of binoculars, and they could also triangulate off of it when they needed to.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, that's good. That's interesting.
At the same time, since we're talking about the benchmarks, there's also up on a lot of summits. Some you might be surprised. In fact, have peak registries, which are different than the benchmarks. But I'm curious in chat if you guys look at the benchmarks and also if you sign the peak registry when you get to the top of a summit. I used to sign peak registries every time, and I also used to put a QSL card in them. But I have for years now. I've stopped doing that. I used to I'm going to have proof that I was up here and did this summit, but now I don't do it that much. What about you guys? Do you in chat and also here you and Brian?
Yeah, actually, I was just as you were bringing it up, I was thinking I just can't. What's the name of the summit over behind Arboretum? Why can't I think of the name of it all of a sudden?
Oh, Pickup Post.
Picket Post. Okay, yeah, I was going to bring up a picture of the Picket Post Summit registry. You know what I'm talking about. And I have that in my files here.
Okay.
So while you guys are chatting, I'll look for that.
Yeah. What about you, Brian? I mean, Dan.
Yeah, I've done it in the past. I don't tend to do it, as often as I used to. I used to look for them, but they're definitely out there, and you never know. I used to take little trinkets and pop them in there, and sometimes people had some in there, and I'd grab one, and distribute it to another mountain. So yeah, it's pretty fun, and it's interesting to look and see, who's been up there and how often too. So some mountains, get visited like it looks like once a year, and some are, fairly regularly. So
I don't have the summit register on Picket Post, but it's a mailbox. It's on a mailbox on a post.
I have it. It's not my picture, but it's a picture.
Yeah, it's not in my folders here, so it must be somewhere else in the.
Let me just share it real quick. So, this is what it looks like. That's the mailbox right there. I've heard that actually that they, yeah, there's one right there, a picture. So yeah, it's just and they've replaced it several times, haven't they?
Yes. Some of the purists get pissed off about it and they throw it off the mountain. So it's been, I suppose you can look at it both ways. Somebody vandalizes what's already vandalizing the mountain. Because I know that there's a lot of varying opinions on summit registers, and some people treat them like they're an offense against humanity, and they treat them as such, and others don't care.
Yeah, I see that. It's same with Cairns too, right? With Cairns, people like
Cairn, whatever. Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, we're already 57 minutes in, so I guess we should wrap it up. Last chance in the chat to share if you have anything that you want to ask or share. We'll talk about real quick. And as far as I am concerned, I look forward to sharing with you some of the stuff from Herb. Good luck. Sue earlier said Herb Good Luck is going to be addressing the Kachina ARC in Sholo on the 12th of this month. Hopefully Charlie will be done with his activating so Herb can make it to the show. Yeah, it's right after. I see let me bring up a calendar and see when I'm going to be there. I think it's just before that. Yeah, I'm there 7th, 8th, and 9th, and coming home the 10th. So just before. So that's cool. But,
hey, can I direct with Sue for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey Sue, we heard you when we were on Apache Gap, but I guess you weren't hearing us. Just want to let you know.
Yeah, Sue and Chuck have really been hitting the Summits on the Air stuff hard. They're already nearly halfway there to their goat, so they're great. All right, guys. Well, let's I guess call it good. And if I just put in the chat a minute ago the link to Jason's live Ham Radio 2.0. It's happy hour, and so. With that, I guess I am going to say 73 to you guys, and glad we were able to have this chat, and hopefully y'all learned something, and I sure did. So we'll go to Brian and then Dan.
Hey guys, I had a great time today. Thanks everybody. Oh, it was Brian then Dan, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. Hey guys, thanks for everybody for checking in. It was a good time today. Good seeing everybody.
Yeah, same. Great conversation today. Thanks everyone for joining in, and we'll see you guys all soon.
Okay, see you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye guys.